Hello there, Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep critical Terra walkthrough, sorry, not Aqua. This is Terra. And this is a really weird fight right now. These jellyfish have this ability to almost immediately kill you in this game, and I have no idea how they do it, but they can. So I am very trepidatious when I'm fighting these creatures. The great part about this particular sequence is that we're on the glider thing. I think the Keyblade turns into it, doesn't it? It gives you some kind of space travel. You know, it's Star Wars. Star Wars with keys and shit. But just kind of spin, kind of do figure eights and circles and things, and swing around the back end of your bike, glider, flying machine, and it'll be done very quickly. And then before you know it, you will be inside the spaceship, inside the deep space level. And we're going to be taking on some basic Unversed, which I really love the way the Unversed are designed. I think they've got a nice, almost sharp edge to them that's a nice direct contrast to some of the softness of the shapes of the Heartless. You'll notice a lot of the Heartless have got circles and hard edges and a lot of spheres. Everything's kind of sphery, isn't it? There's a spherical gradient with the darkness. Or the Heartless, sorry. Not the English band with the dude who hits those high notes that I never liked. And then you have these pots, which I think are a nice combination of the two, aren't they? They've got the rotund belly, but then they've got those peach spiky wings. And it's kind of a nice extension of an existing enemy, because these predate the Heartless, so there's kind of that Heartless in them, but there's also that little edge of something else. And I think they did a good job with that. They kept it colourful, they kept it interesting, they kept it familiar while still new, and I want to praise them for it. But you'll notice, guys, I ain't strong for this area. I'm hitting these dudes a lot, and they're not dying. And that tells you that at this point I'm perhaps a little bit underleveled or a little bit underdeveloped as a character for a traditional critical run. Of course, if you're level 1ing critical, then this is just going to be your universe until you get the powerful stuff or you build the powerful things. And this is dangerous, because the longer these enemies stay alive, and the longer I have to contend with them, the more opportunities they get to hit me. And when they hit me, you will see a vastly different result. They will hit hard. So I'm going to be using every move I have, but this is potentially going to be a little bit more arduous than the previous videos, because I can't just bully these enemies. So there actually has to be some strategy here when I'm floating them and air juggling them and hitting them with moves I'm trying to learn. But it also affords me the opportunity to speak about some different things. Which is, I'm going to talk about Resident Evil 7 for a little while. The people who are watching this are kind of the hardcore people on the channel who watch everything I do, who are big fans of me, and then there's a percentage of them that are just Kingdom Hearts fans that are watching because of the game. I like to think that the gameplay is good enough for the people who are watching for Kingdom Hearts, so the commentary can be good enough for the people who are watching because they like the channel. And I often do tangents, and this is one of them. I released a video saying that I wasn't going to be covering Resident Evil 7, and the majority of people respected my decision. A few people were upset. It's to be expected. It was a big, high-priority release. It's the biggest release of the month, and I didn't cover it, and a lot of people wanted me to do like the hardest difficulty, no damage, and shit like that. Well, I still haven't played Resident Evil 7, and I have no interest in playing it ever. Some people seem to have confused that idea with the notion that maybe I couldn't afford it, or maybe I didn't want to give Capcom money, which I don't get me wrong. I don't want to give Capcom money, but I can afford it perfectly fine. I just don't want it. That's a big difference, you know, between the ability to have it and the want to need it. I don't have that. So I've had a lot of requests over the last week or two of people, A, asking to buy it for me, some people asked to do game shares, a whole host of different requests, which is crazy and profound to me, because I don't generally get people opening up in such a way to try and get me to play a certain game, and it's kind of interesting to see it, even though it's, you know, the antithesis of what I want right now. And I know it sounds kind of ungrateful, but it's just this weird thing of, if I wanted that game, guys, I would have got it, you know? As much as it's awesome that people want to help the channel and want to pay for games for me to play, which is an insane notion, but that's what it was, it's not about that, folks. It's not about not being able to get it, it's about not wanting to get it. And it seems like a lot of people just don't understand that, and that's fair. I guess, you know, sometimes you can't get through to everybody. These are dangerous, by the way, folks. You can die very fast whenever you're fighting these enemies, so be very careful. Especially the pots. If the pots get any magic off, you can really get some stings. But it's the jellyfish you want to worry. Jellyfish have got this uncanny ability to kill. Ask Steve Irwin, the poor bastard. I want that mana raise. You get what I mean. Stuff that should be not very hostile and nice, doing crazy shit. When animals go bad, you know, they're the shark of deep space. But Resident Evil 7 is just there, man. To me, I've watched the entire game get played, and nothing I found interesting at all. I thought it was a very cinematic-looking experience. I thought it was very close to a lot of the more recent, you know, contemporary horror movies. It reminded me a lot of the new version of The Hills Have Eyes, and all movies of that ilk. It reminded me of that one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, where they go into that caravan and there's that really creepy family, and they're all pretending like nothing is wrong, and you know that everything is wrong, and it's just weird. Reminded me a lot of that. But when it came down to actually playing the game, outside of some traditional level design, which I do think was great, and outside of some completely backwards-ass draconian puzzles, which is 100% Resident Evil to a T, so I think it's a beautiful touch, everything else looks bad. The movement looks shit. The combat looks shit. The boss fights are shit. Like, they're essentially quick-time events where you move around them shooting. Nothing is interesting. None of the gameplay is interesting. Nothing has depth. Nothing has mechanics that you have to learn to overcome. You can walk in and shoot stuff and walk out having learned nothing and have success. And that to me is uninteresting. The majority of the enemies in the game are reoccurring boss fights against Nemesis wannabes. Not interesting to me. The enemies that I did see the person I was watching fight were enemies that looked like they'd ripped off the Leechmongers, and they were completely uninteresting. Like, they took a ton of bullets, none of the bullets had any kind of really fun punchy hit registration to see that you actually shooting them. They were rejects from Resident Evil Revelations, and that's not interesting to me. Everything about that game to me, gameplay-wise, outside of the puzzles, the ambience and the cinematicness, is dog shit. And I don't care about that, folks. I don't play games to be scared. I don't play games for horror. I don't play games to be in that sensibility. I enjoy horror games when I play them, but I always play them for a reason. Amnesia and Machine for Pigs was a game I loved because it had a great atmosphere, it had beautiful music, and the writing was superb. It was dramatic as fuck and ridiculous, but I loved that. I wasn't playing it for the goddamn gameplay because the gameplay was shit. Utter shit. But the atmosphere, music, storytelling, beautiful. Loved it. I saw none of that in Resident Evil 7, except for some fun-looking puzzles, some nice throwbacks to the classic games, and everything else was a game that I would never go near. Look at Alien Isolation. Zero interest in that game. None whatsoever, because mechanically, it doesn't interest me. I like games where I play them, and I have to play them. I don't like games where they play themselves and I get to watch, and every so often I shoot something. That's just not me anymore, guys. There's a time and a place for story-driven games, and I'm just not in that mood right now. I want to play games where I'm in there doing things, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now, and ironically, one of the games I'm choosing to do that with has more story than Resident Evil 7, which is, of course, Yakuza 0. This is a game where you can do an hour of fighting and running around and distractions and silliness, and then you sit for another hour watching really serious conversation, dialogue, and interesting progression. And I'm loving it. But I'm loving it because I'm interested in the gameplay too. The story's just a bonus, and it just so happens the story's really good. You know? But people don't seem to not even care that there's another side to playing games. Like, you'll notice I've never come out and said that Resident Evil 7's a shit game. And when I have said it, it's always been in jest, to poke fun, because everybody's talking about it. It's getting really good reviews. Lots of people who like that kind of stuff are really enjoying it. It's going to be very commercially successful, it seems, and that's great. But I don't think it looks good. That doesn't mean it isn't good, it just means that I don't need it and don't want it and don't care. And that's worse, you know, when you don't care about something, that's way worse. Like, I can't wait to play Kingdom Hearts 2.8, I've got it next to me on a shelf. Once I'm done with Yakuza, that's the first thing I'm popping in. And I'm under the full notion that the moment I start getting into Kingdom Hearts, Neo's going to drop. And I'm doing a blind playthrough for that, so streams will end, there'll be no more streams. It will be Neo for 12 hours a day until it's done. And then it'll be back to normal. But all of these things have one thing in common, and that is that I play them for the game. I play them for the gameplay. And puzzle solving, atmospheric adventuring, you know, not really my thing. In fact, when I watch RE7's gameplay, all it makes me think of is, God, I miss Condemned. If Condemned could get another game on new technology with new mechanics and just expanding on that repertoire, that'd be fucking great. Because Monolith make great first-person shooters. Capcom don't. Because let's face it, guys, Resident Evil 7 is not a first-person shooter. It is a first-person horror game. It just has some shooting elements. And that, to me, is just not interesting. What is interesting is this corridor. I remember this corridor because it leads to the boss fight, and you can die here because the enemies take a pounding, and if they hit you, it is a 1 to 2 hit kill. If this dude is allowed to do what he does, and he connects, it's good night, Irene. So be very careful in this room. I believe I died twice. Just really quick deaths, so be very, very careful. But it's just really interesting. Like, Alien Isolation came and went, and nobody did what they're doing for the new Resident Evil. Like, nobody did this for Resident Evil 6, you know? I covered a part of Resident Evil 6, and it was laced with malice, venom, and hate. And nobody asked for the campaigns. It was like they knew that maybe Chris didn't like this game. Because the worst thing in the world is covering something you don't enjoy, guys, and I know because I've done it. And one of the changes on my channel over the years has been to move towards the things I do enjoy, because it shows. It really shows. Thank you for watching. You take care now.